That's a long walk. Kurinamik, Malo Kurinamik Tungas Titogama, Inukatika, Halokaka, Nunakaksama Yokativut, the Banikativurilak. Ini kaya ko yung katakot at tamakunong agalak, Kurinamik Tugalaw yung uvatinito to sa katakakakatsi. Inuit Iigeesiak to mute, siunuk sui su katigini, siulikta suvunga. Tapos na ka. I'd like to thank the organizers of this important event for inviting ICC and Inuit to this beautiful venue, and Nalakiksuisut, the Greenland government, for their warm welcome. As chair of the Inuit Circumpolar Council, I represent 160,000 Inuit living in Canada, Greenland, Alaska, and Chikaka. ICC is an international organization with official status within the United Nations and is one of 6 permanent participants in the Arctic Council. Inuit may be a small population in a global sense, but we have a mighty voice. The theme of the discussion over the next few days focuses on, once again, economic development for the peoples of the Arctic. And again, I suggest by the peoples of the Arctic. I remind you that Inuit, as articulated in the 2009 Circumpolar Inuit Declaration on Resource Development, support Arctic development, but not at all costs. Look around and let the beauty of this building, the city of Nuuk, and the ocean inspire us to move beyond the discussion of the challenges the Arctic and its peoples face. Discuss to the possibilities Arctic peoples can achieve by working with you. Scientists, industry leaders, conservation groups, and governments, those who believe in meaningful partnerships with Arctic peoples. Economic development can take many forms. It can be non-renewable and renewable resource development, shipping, tourism, subsistence and commercial use of Arctic wildlife, when we're allowed, arts and culture, environmental monitoring, infrastructure, and so on. I hope you leave this meeting with a new Arctic partner, whether you are a shipping or mining representative, a scientist, a member of a conservation group, or from an Arctic or other state government. See this Arctic partner, whether they are Inuit or Sami, Aleutian or Russian, Gwich'in or Athabascan, as a positive force in your work, not as a duty. Inuit believe in a vision for the Arctic. It is both a vision that looks backwards and forward, guided by our past to inform our future. Let us take the next few days to think about a 30-year vision for the Arctic, Arctic 2050. Not just to the next budget cycle, and not just to the next quarterly report. Let's look long term. I want to share with you a few thoughts that I hope will stimulate the discussion over the next few days. I want to tell you about the challenges that rapid and unpredictable change is bringing to my home, to my Inuit Nunat. I would like to tell you about what Inuit are doing to secure our vision, and I would like you to think about how we can work together for our shared vision of the Arctic. Inuit have occupied the circumpolar Arctic for millennia, carving a pragmatic culture from the land and sea. We have lived, not survived, we have lived through famines, the Little Ice Age, Vikings, whalers, missionaries, registered schools, good business and not so good business, and consecutive governments. And we will continue to thrive in a changing Arctic. Inuit-based decisions on our indigenous knowledge of our past, of our present, for our future. A knowledge system based on thousands of years of observing, testing, and transmitting our knowledge to the next generation. Always embracing the opportunities. We see ourselves as proactive rather than reactive, and identify key investigations and studies for economic opportunities. We plan for development and growth, and analyze potential risks. We use the very best knowledge available to make evidence-based and informed decisions. As the previous speakers said, the Arctic is vast and the community is unique in nation states. Our visioning exercise is unique for different communities, and the opportunities and challenges associated with Arctic change vary significantly over time and place. Different communities face different risks and have different perspectives regarding the implications of those risks, as well as the most appropriate response options. Being partners in the planning, the research, and the governance of the Arctic ultimately leads to more sustainable, longer-term, positive impact decision-making in Arctic communities. The nation states we live in all have implemented international law at different levels, from the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples to the Nagoya Protocol. Again, Inuit live in 4 countries with 4 very different political regimes and relationships with the state. Yet we are one through our language and our culture. There remain uncertainties. For example, the evolution of governance systems and the economic stability of the Arctic for the outside world depends on global demands for energy. The exploitation of Arctic resources are based more on commodity prices, not on the thickness of the ice. These emerging economic systems must be more flexible and especially more sustainable. The strength and level of cooperation among different institutions affect how well Inuit communities live with change. As I travel to bring the Inuit voice to the world, I am constantly met with great interest in the issues that the Arctic faces. The Arctic truly has the global consciousness spellbound. Those who want to use it, ship through it, explore it, mine it, study it, and protect it. While Inuit use it, we ship through it, we don't really explore it. We're starting to mine it. We've studied it longer than anybody else has, and we've protected it longer than anybody else has. Visioning the future of the Arctic can be useful for navigating the various needs of the peoples who call the Arctic home, others who share an interest in the Arctic, and those who see profit in the Arctic. As the world looks northward for resources, shipping, fisheries, and tourism, amongst other things, Inuit must be heard. We must be part of any decision-making in our Nunat. We have established systems of governance. We welcome partnerships and relationships that support our rights to pursue our cultural heritage. In many situations, we are working in multilateral processes with well-funded governments, well-funded non-governmental organizations and businesses, and where many other non-Arctic interests are represented. Some have agendas that they want to have validated by having Inuit involved in their work. This takes resources. It is hard to speak about the Arctic without addressing the bowhead whale in the room, that being climate change. Inuit welcome the interest, the potential for jobs and trading, the economic opportunities. Economic opportunities under whose terms? Whose priorities? Whose profits? Whose win? Inuit economic opportunity, Inuit economic success are limitless if and when we in this room and in rooms such as this, when we also invest in more culturally appropriate education, when we invest in more mental health, when we invest in social programs and services, when we invest in infrastructure. Because for Inuit, our immediate priorities include addressing our high rates of suicide, our mental health services are underfunded and underserviced, our life expectancy statistics are well below Southern standards, food insecurity is increasing, and housing is limited and often below standards. These are our priorities in parallel with working with you for economic development. Inuit established the Inuit Circumpolar Council and its satellite bodies to work with you. Not against you, not over you, and not despite of you. We want to work with you. So work with us. Let's go back to for Inuit, by Inuit, with Inuit. Koyunami.